Hello everyone and welcome to a new episode of Today's Youth, and today we will be meeting with an Egyptian student studying abroad. He's studying civil engineering in Canada. He's also a squash player and he's going to be telling us more about his experience abroad and of course his ability to make an equilibrium between his studies and his love for squash. Thank you very much for joining us today, Nour Adly. Thank you very much for being with us today.
Thank you for having me and for this great opportunity to be on national television.
Nour, of course, it's our pleasure having you also. Tell me, why did you decide to go and study abroad?
First of all, I saw it as an experience for me to grow personally, gain some more experience that would later on benefit me in life. To meet people of different cultures, all these things would later on help me when I decide to take a step after university. So in general, I think it's a really good experience for personal growth mainly.
Right. Nour, you were here in Egypt studying for high school, then you moved to Canada and you are studying civil engineering, right?
Yeah.
Why did you choose civil engineering in specific?
Honestly, at first, I wanted to do architecture, and I was torn between that alongside business and film. But I just think engineering is good because it gives you a way of thinking. Like, you find many engineers around you, or like entrepreneurs who are originally engineers, but just going into engineering itself helps you gain a way of thinking. And part of it, I think it builds a character because the amount of pressure engineers have to deal with during class.
Engineers have a mindset, I think. Right. Nour, tell me more about your hobby, playing squash. It's not a hobby, actually. You've been practicing squash all your life, right?
Yeah, I've been playing squash now for almost 11 years.
Right.
I started pretty late. I was about 9.
Yeah.
Which is considered a bit old.
A bit late for squash.
In the world of squash. The reason I started was I lived in Kuwait earlier on, and in 2009 the World Championships were being played there, and the final was between Egypt's Rami Ashour and Amr Shabana, two arguably of the greatest players to ever hold the squash racket. And I was immediately inspired, and I told my dad, I think this is a great sport. Like, I want to try this, and what started off as a hobby turned out to be a lifetime. Like, I've been doing this for so long now.
Yeah. How many tournaments did you participate in?
Well, internationally, I've participated in 2, in France and Austria. Obviously, I play on college level, so I play the league in Canada and the US. But here in Egypt, I played around 8 to 10 tournaments per season. So we could say about 40 to 50 tournaments maybe in my whole life. I think I've played in almost 150, maybe 200 matches even.
Oh, tell me, what was the last one? What was the last international tournament that you participated in?
The very last one was in the Canadian League.
Yeah.
We played versus another university. I play for West University, which is Canada's #1 team. We played versus Laurier, one of the best teams in Canada, of course, and we were able to win all our 7 matches, and I won my match in 3 sets. And so far, our team has been doing great results this season.
Tell me, what did squash or sports in general add to you on the personal level?
In general, sports help you gain discipline. The fact that you're always balancing between one thing and another and not giving one thing an edge over the other always helps you gain discipline, because you always need to follow a very strict schedule in a way, especially when I'm abroad and I'm living alone and I have other responsibilities. But I always know that my classes are from this time to that time, and then I have training here, so I need to get a bit of studying between the two, or like eat or something. But squash specifically, I think squash is very good because it helps you really well with your mind and your way to think, because the sport, despite its fast pace and its agile nature, it's a sport that teaches you to wait and always to be waiting for something to happen, because you always need to take the opportunity taking the ball, which reflects in life that you always need to wait until you get an opportunity, which you need to seize it and then achieve what you're looking for.
Yes. With regards to the issue of balancing your time, time division, time management between your studies, and you're not in an easy major, civil engineering, and at the same time, I think squash need lots of hours of training. Tell me more about this. How are you able to manage, and how are you able to continue with both sides?
First of all, the university itself takes very good care of its athletes. Whether we're talking physical health, where you're treated by its physicians in the unfortunate case of injuries or recovery, but in general, you always they're very lean with your deadlines. If you have an assignment but you have a match or like a training or something or an exam, it gets moved because you need to practice or you need to compete. So, of course, this helps me as an individual to easier balance between the two.
You also have a love for community service, and you had some experience with this here in Egypt, back here in Egypt. Tell me more about this experience.
So I was an IB student, an International Baccalaureate student.
Right.
And part of my graduation profile is to do some community service. So in my last years of high school, part of our community service, we'd go on school trips to Aswan and Alexandria to renovate the houses of those who are unfortunate. And of course, the money that funds these trips are all from fundraising events. So it's basically funded by the students, their donations, and etc. And this is good because it helps share the idea of giving to those who are in need, of course. So we'd go there and we'd spend about 2 days helping to renovate the houses. And of course, based on the preference of the house owners. So, for example, when we went to Aswan, they were very they really wanted the shapes of triangles and like colorful things and drawings. But like in Alexandria, for example, they looked more that the house would be safe enough, for example, because the rain. So. Yeah, it differs from one city to another and from one culture to another, I guess.
So you arranged for some events for fundraising. Then you went to Aswan and Alexandria to renovate some of the houses of the needy people. How did this experience add to you on the personal level?
Of course, the school helping us and being the main organizer behind all of this, because at the end of the day, we went as our school and not just as individuals. But on the personal level, it makes me very thankful for what I have and learning not to take anything for granted. And of course, it helps me connect with people that I wouldn't usually connect or meet with on regular basis. So just spending 2 days with these people, about 6 hours a day, so you get to know these people really well, and like you get to have an experience that helps you again grow as a person, because I guess this is the main goal of life, to grow as an individual. So yeah, like personally, when I went to Alexandria, for example, I think this was my first actual encounter with engineering, when I had to build a wooden bridge to help them pass from one side of the canal to another. And then I stood there for a couple of minutes just thinking, how am I going to do this? Like,
Yeah.
I'm supposed to...
Of course, you were still in studying. I mean,
yeah, exactly. I was still a high school student. And like, this literally was
and how did you manage? I mean, you need some engineering skills to do so.
Yeah, we just thought about it in a very simple manner.
Yeah.
Nothing too big. Of course, we did a little bit of Googling here and there, but there was nothing too huge for us to think about. We just tried to be as convenient and as safe as possible, of course, because we can't risk the lives of others.
Right. During your middle and high schools, you were elected several years to represent your peers in the student council. How was that, and how was it beneficial?
For me, since I was at a very young age, I just loved to have a position of leadership, really. It was nothing that I looked for, but it was something that rather always came my way for some reason. And what's great about this is that you have some people who put their trust and faith in you, and they expect you to deliver their messages across, whether to make the school a better place in general or just to someone like higher in the hierarchy of the school. So being these people's voices is a big responsibility, of course, but it's definitely worth it.
You also have an artistic side. You have a love for cinema and I don't know what other artistic sides maybe you can tell us.
Yeah, I mean, I love cinema. I really love cinema. That's why I was considering even going into film. And if you think about it, film and engineering are at the total opposite side of the spectrum. So the reason I love cinema, because I think it's really important how directors reflect their ideas, and sometimes even put in some visual motifs to help deliver a message without just directly saying we are delivering the following message.
You also used to join school musicals, right? How was that?
I guess this is part of my artistic side as well. When I was younger, I'd be part of the choir, for example, and we'd sing. But then when I got a bit older and I started, my voice wasn't as good growing up. I just became one of the backstage crew, which was also great, because just being a manager backstage or just helping out is great, because you get to meet a lot of people from your school.
So Nour, we can say you're a multitasking now. You used to do musicals at school. You used to play squash. At the same time, you were engaged in community service back then here in Egypt. What about your life in Canada? Tell me more about your life as a student living abroad.
I mean, my life there is much more focused than it is here, because all I really have to do is study and play squash. of course, this doesn't stop me from having fun here and there because I just need to keep myself mentally healthy all the time, I guess. And of course, squash is an escape for me. Sometimes when I'm mad, I play squash. But in general, life abroad is much different from here. You have to be much more independent. You have so many much more responsibilities, which we're grateful enough to have parents who take care of these things rather than us. But when you go abroad, you have to keep up with the bills, you have to make yourself food, you have to wash, you have to do laundry, all that. And at the same time, you have to study. And if you're an athlete, you have to balance your sports.
Mm-hmm. How was your first encounter when you first moved to Canada and you found yourself all alone without the family?
My first encounter there, I mean, the first year was on Zoom. It was online. So you get to...
You were here or there?
I was here.
Okay.
I met a lot of people online, but meeting these people in real life was a whole lot different. Mm-hmm. But just going there at first for like the first week, it felt like I was on vacation. Mm-hmm. But then things started getting real. The school routine just implemented itself really in my life. I didn't force it. And I just found myself there at moments. I was like, this is real. Like, I'm here. I'm doing this. And of course, I'd miss Egypt. I'd miss my family. I'd miss my friends. But then I think on the greater scale and look at the bigger picture, I'm here because I want to study engineering. I want to graduate. I want to keep playing squash. So I just keep myself driven all the time.
And why did you choose Canada in specific to continue your high school, your university studies?
The reason I chose Canada really was because Canada is the world's #1 nation with the most amount of people with bachelor studies, so people who have completed university. And at the same time, they're a nation that's very diverse. So if we look at Canada, for example, only 4.9% of its population are actual natives. Canada is really a world of its own, or a place where all people of all different cultures and backgrounds meet. And of course, going to North America in general is better as a student athlete.
Yeah.
So I just saw Canada as the perfect place, considering that my university in specific is Canada's #1 university for civil engineering and number 12 worldwide, and my team is #1 in Canada and ironically also number 12 on North America.
Yeah.
So it just seemed like me and West University was a match made in heaven.
Mm-hmm. If you compare cultures between here and there, how would you make this comparison?
I mean, as I said, Canada is pretty diverse, so you'd meet a lot of cultures there. But one thing that suits it perfectly is that they're less conservative than we are here. And our conservative nature, I guess, comes from the fact that as a country, we're naturally religious, I guess. So we always have a mix. So our culture and our everyday life really is partially driven by religion. But the people here and the people in Canada, they're much more different. Like the people here, you'd meet someone and 5 minutes later you'd be friends and you'd be talking about different things. There, as much as people are very respectable and very friendly, it takes time to build a relationship with someone and for you to become friends.
Yes, right. If we talk about your future, what are you planning for the future after you finish your education, academic education over there? Are you planning to come back here to Egypt, or are you planning to stay there? What are you planning for the future?
Genuinely, I haven't really thought about this. I just try to live not necessarily every day by its day, but every stage of my life, and just acknowledge that I'm going through a stage and I'm here for a short time and I just need to enjoy it. It's great to look at my future, of course, but in the meantime, the main goal for me is to graduate from Western as an engineer and a student athlete. But I guess I would be very open to returning to Egypt one day, because at the end of the day, I was born here, I was raised here, and it only makes perfect sense for me to one day return to my country and be of good use and be beneficial to Egypt.
No, you definitely met a lot of obstacles throughout your time over there, living abroad on your own, and you overcame them. What would you like to tell youth about persistence and perseverance to reach one's goals?
I guess the number one thing I tell them is that take very good care of your mental health, because during your weakest of times and your lowest moments, you would be in a very bad state of mental health, and you wouldn't even realize it, and you'd be saying, "No, I'm great, I'm doing fantastic." But you always have to find yourself a motive. You always have to have a goal and just keep your eye on it, because this is what's gonna keep you driven.
Right. A very important event took place here in Egypt recently, which is the World Youth Forum, the fourth edition of the World Youth Forum. And it was held in Sharm el-Sheikh from the 10th to the 13th of January. Maybe you were here in Egypt during that time. Did you follow the forum, and how do you see the significance of youth forums, youth conferences, and gathering youth together from different parts of the world? 196 countries were represented at the forum. Youth from different countries were there in Sharm el-Sheikh. How do you see the significance of this?
I think that the World Youth Forum is a great get-together for the world's youth, and it's a great opportunity for people to exchange their cultures and, again, back to square one, grow as individuals. And I tried to keep up with it really, but I had class like during that time, so it wasn't really very convenient. But I looked, and like they were discussing, I guess the main goal of this forum was to discuss environmental issues.
Different issues were discussed, actually. They discussed climate change, entrepreneurship, human rights, a lot of issues, maybe employment and education also were among the topics.
Exactly, and this takes us back to the UN's Sustainable Development Goals. So the UN has 70 Sustainable Development Goals that are targeted to be achieved by the year 2030. So the fact that our country is looking out to the world and saying, we're here, we're trying to achieve some of these goals, I think it's a great start for us as youth, and hopefully it will be as beneficial as it can be for our country.
A great attention is given by the Egyptian leadership to encourage youth, to empower youth. How far do you see Egypt is empowering its youth, and what do you think is the role of youth towards their countries?
The rule for youth, I think that their role is to look out to their country. It's great that the government is empowering youth. That's fantastic. But I also think that if the youth don't have the will to take a step and benefit their country and look out for their country, I think then all this wouldn't be to great use. So it's giving to the youth all the resources they could possibly have, and it's our role as youth to help our country.
What's a message that you would like to give to the youth from your place here?
I mean, I'm still pretty young. I'm only 19, but I guess I've been given a fantastic opportunity to have a voice. And if I'm going to say anything to youth is, it's pretty cliche, but just do what you love, do what you believe in, keep yourself driven, enjoy life. Seize every opportunity, really. They sound a bit too motivational, but again, as I said, you have to keep a motive to yourself.
Well, Nour, you spoke to me about your dreams or plans for the future on the academic level, but what about the sports level? I mean, you have a love for squash. So what are you planning for the future?
Honestly, I think that later on in life, my career as an engineer would overtake my career as a squash player. So potentially it would have the upper hand. I'm not really sure if I'm going to go professional anytime, because already people my age have gone professional a couple of years ago. But at the moment, especially that I'm still fighting through a 2.5-year injury, I'm playing with an injury right now. I'm just grateful enough to be back on court after being injured for so long. And I'm just trying to enjoy what I have right now before I graduate from university, and then I find myself just doing squash as an individual, because having a team behind me, a team I'm very grateful for, they keep me driven, we look out to each other, having a great coach, such as Chris. I hope he's watching this.
He's your coach over there.
Yeah, he's my coach over there, Chris Hanbury. He's a great guy.
Yeah.
But he's always looking out to us. He tries to make the team a very safe and environment, and one that helps us become better squash players, being competitive, but again having true sportsmanship and having good manners on and off court.
Right. Well, Nour, since you have an experience with studying online, how do you assess e-learning? I mean, since we are still in the pandemic and a lot of people are obliged to study online. So how do you assess e-learning?
I mean, at the moment, my school studies have started last week, and we're online for the first 2 weeks of school. And that now that I've taken a semester in person and a whole year and the last 2 weeks online, I think that it really differs from one person to another. It depends on your pace in class. So if you're someone who tends to understand something from the second or third time, watching a lecture or going on Zoom could be easier. But if you're someone who likes to have hand-on work, human interaction, I guess in-person learning is better for you.
Yeah, well, I would like to thank you very much, Nour Adly, a civil engineering student. All the best of luck, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me today.
And dear viewers, many thanks for watching, and don't forget to join us next week, same time. Till then, it's goodbye.